Hey, one of the most complicated things you'd need to make inside of Unreal Engine, which is where we are right now, is a dialogue system where you get to interact with a character and then they get to speak out voice lines. You can actually select the dialogue, and then after selecting it, the camera that's being used changes as your characters interact and speak to each other. But that's what you're going to learn in this tutorial series. You start off with the basics of, getting Unreal Engine and getting access to Audacity. You can use any other audio editing app. It depends on what you're comfortable with, but hey, it's free. And more importantly, it's very powerful. The next thing that you're going to learn is some general good fundamental planning for your dialogue. Go through the basics of why humans talk, some basic ideas on how to use a setting as an environment which has problems your characters are trying to solve. We won't spend too long covering these concepts, but basic dialogue is just something we have to touch on. And then we'll cover how to actually do some basic dialogue recording using voice acting that you have available to you and whatever tools are at hand. Basically, use what you have to make the dialogue. And then we go through how to cut up the dialogue into files, into separate files that will be perfect to use inside of Unreal Engine. Now, at a higher level, especially when you have multiple quests on audio files, having the right folder structure is important. So we're going to go through how to have the right folder structure. Essentially, we're going to go over some good folder and file naming etiquette that's going to make your life a whole lot easier. It will take about 5 minutes to understand this, but it's going to save you hours and maybe even days of production headache later. And then once the housekeeping is out of the way, we'll dive into Unreal Engine. Inside of the engine, we learn how to basically make a simple blueprint where there's going to be a character or NPC that we can start talking to. And once we have the NPC, we get into learning about interfaces. Interfaces is a cool way to have two blueprints like talk to each other. It's really cool. It's better than casting, and I'm going to actually explain to you how to use them. So this next part has quite a bit of work working in the node system, also known as the blueprint system in Unreal Engine. And as always with my tutorials, everything is going to be explained really, really well, and nothing's going to happen off screen. You'll be able to see in detail everything that I take you through. We'll then go into actually have to have the text showing up nicely for your dialogue system. And so your player character is going to be able to select what to say next. Now, for simplicity and to make it easy for everyone to learn, this will be a linear dialogue system with just one option, but the knowledge on how to set up multiple options is going to be there. And then we're going to use subtitles to make localization a lot easier, and we'll use them to populate those fields. Now, there's quite a bit of logic, and things will be getting more and more complex as we keep moving forward. But by the end, you're going to have a pretty solid grasp on Unreal Engine's tools. And then to wrap it up, we're going to create the camera selection system so that during the dialogue, you'll be able to select which camera is showing depending on what you want from the scene. And that is going to bring the entire tutorial to a close. Now, as far as how long before you'll be able to learn everything, I am highly recommending you could be able to do this in 2 days if you set aside 2.5 hours per day to practice. And then about 60% is the volume that I have set up all the recordings to be audible at. Besides that, I wish you well learning this and adding this to your toolkit. HyperDev out.